So in response, now we would like to have 3 panel discussions regarding Japanese actions against climate change. We just look at what's happening at the forefront. We would like to ask moderators to moderate each session. The first session, Race to Zero. Moderator Nishida Yuko, the Senior Manager from the Renewable Energy Institute. Nishida-san, the floor is yours. Nishida from REI. Now, we would like to study this panel session. The first session in the JCAS, carbon towards carbon zero, pioneering activities have been conducted by local governments and companies. The session theme, Race to Zero. You might sound that this is rather unfamiliar. Next month, COP26 will be held. Using that as a trigger, local governments and companies are now gathering momentum so that for the global to see more progress in climate actions. Race to Zero, the United Nations are supporting this campaign. Companies and also the local governments and non-state actors at latest by 2050 reach and materialize carbon neutrality and making a pledge to do so. To participate in Race to Zero by 2050, to achieve net zero. In addition to that target, 1.5 degree target, IPCC report is now available globally. By 2030, CO2 emissions should be slashed by half. So that's the interim target. And that's also necessary for this Race to Zero. And immediate action is necessary above anything. And that plan that must be disclosed, and those are requirements for to participate in Race to Zero. Now, JCI, as a formal partner to Race to Zero, those with JCI, there's a framework to participate in Race to Zero. There are already local governments and companies participating. The UNFCCC website shows the names of those formal partners. So in this session, those companies, local governments who are already participating in Race to Zero are here. So I hope that you, as a way of introducing yourself, please share with us what you are doing. From left, Eco is what you're doing. Ecoworks. Oyama Takashi-san, Representative Director. Ecoworks is a leader in various initiatives and also in architecture, building, energy house is promoted as you are a very important actor. Oyama-san, the floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Takashi Oyama, President and CEO of Ecoworks. I've prepared a PowerPoint. So if you could look at this, Race to Zero and the significance of participation in this, I'd like to give you an outline of our company in terms of our business, frame, wooden building, facilities, new building and renovation is what we do. The areas of business is Fukuoka, Kumamoto, and Saga Prefecture, north of Kyushu. And with regard to the metropolitan areas, we only do designs. And we have an employee count of 80 and turnover 4 billion. Ecoworks is about environmental activities. And I have indicated here the management philosophy. Through the creation of houses and proposal of ways of living, we want to contribute to decarbonization. Decarbonization is number one in terms of our management philosophy. If you could please turn to the next page. SMEs, we represent the SMEs for today's event, and our strengths are the speed with which SMEs can do things. In 2030, decarbonized management, Scope 1 and Scope 2, that is what we're aiming for. And quick decision-making is a strong point of SME. SMEs do not emit the CO2 in large quantities to start out with. So compared to large companies, we feel we can reach the goal quicker. And in terms of our approach, Scope 1 is our direct emission, gasoline, automotive, and trucks. That's a central source. With regard to trucks, we haven't made too much headway in terms of EV, but there's more work to be done. But by 2030, all of our corporate fleet will be electric vehicles. Scope 2 is indirect emissions, mostly electricity. In 2020, renewable energy, 100% has been achieved. So with regard to Scope 2, it's pretty close to zero. And Scope 3, I will talk about the approaches there later on. I look forward to having discussions with you. Thank you.
So renewable energy, switch to renewable energy. You have already done that. So, a very encouraging plan. Next, representing Japan Asset Management Company, the Nissay Asset Management Chief Analyst, ESG Investment Promotion Analysis, Hayashi Toshikazu. Nissay Asset Management, Net Zero Asset Management Initiative, and other initiatives have been taken, both participating in various networks, Japan and abroad. As an investor, you have been very active. Hayashi-san, the floor is yours. Thank you. Once again, Nissay Asset Management. I'm ESG Analyst. My name is Hayashi. Great to be here. Very briefly, we are asset management company. What kind of things we have been doing so far? I would like to give you a short presentation. Next slide, please. As you can see here, sorry, it's a minute letter, but this shows the our overview. As Nishida-san already mentioned, asset management company is what we do. Nippon Life Insurance Group's asset management company. Top right, you can see the graph. About 31 trillion yen is asset under management. Regarding our characteristics, there are several, but 2006, we signed PRI, led by the United Nations, the Principles for Responsible Investment. We signed this PRI, and 2 years later, from 2008, so-called ESG investment, ESG integration, on ESG, the matters have been taken into consideration, and we've been doing so more than 10 years. More recently, about environment, especially on climate actions, they have been boosted in 2019. We also expressed our support for TCFD recommendations, a framework for climate-related disclosure. And March this year, today's theme, Net Zero Asset Managers Initiative. We participated in this initiative. And through these participations to race to zero, we are also participating in RTZ as well. Next page, please. So here, as an asset manager, asset management company, to contribute to net zero, what kind of things we have been doing? Let me share those with you. Roughly speaking, there are 5 pillars. So first pillar, participating in various initiatives, Japan and abroad, and engaged in various activities. Net Zero Asset Managers Initiative is just one of them, Race to Zero. And then in addition, JCI or PCAF, Partnership for Carbon Accounting Financials. In the business portfolio emissions, how best to measure this? This is really trying to unify the methodology. And also AIGCC, Asia Investor Group on Climate Change. So in Asia, this is the group of investors group here in Asia. Also, we are participating in all these activities. Regarding Race to Zero, more recently, regarding what we are focusing on, as Nishida-san mentioned, after pledge, plan. You need to formulate a plan regarding our portfolio and the emissions from them. By 2015, we need to achieve zero. But by 2030, what can we do? What needs to be done? With various people, we've been having discussions and thinking about those things. But to address them, more recently here, right now, what about the emissions from our portfolio? We need to grasp them without fail. Otherwise, we can't formulate a plan. On this, as I mentioned, PCAF methodology is utilized and to measure the portfolio emissions. For the first time in this fiscal year, we are disclosing them as well. And other activities, investees, public companies, engagement, having a dialogue with investees, and especially the climate-related matters have become one of the major themes. And our customers, or pension plans, and also to other asset owners in investment and asset management, climate issue is important. So communication and among others, and holding seminars as well. Here it says policies, boosting climate actions, and also regarding corporate information disclosure. And for policies to encourage them, we are also working on those policies. And last one, as asset manager, this is the most important part, ESG integration in terms of management, boosting them further and offering these services. We are also focusing and strengthening these as well. It's been a very rough, sketchy one, but from an asset manager, towards net zero, what kind of things we have been doing? Thank you so much for having me today. Hayashi-san, thank you very much. So you have a vast portfolio, I'm pretty sure a big portfolio, but not just grasping the emissions, but engagement and communication. And also you're working on policy formulation as well. You have been engaged in diverse activities. Thank you so much. Next, Suntory Holdings, Executive Officer, Division CEO, Sustainability Management Division, Fukumoto Tomomi-san. Now, Suntory Holdings, as a B2C company, your activities, I think, have been seen by many people towards zero. You have a plan, what you're focusing on. Please share those with us.
Thank you for the introduction. Fukumoto of Suntory. I am responsible for sustainability management. May I have my slide? Next slide, please. So, as of today, for businesses, dealing with climate change is not an option. It is essential, unavoidable. What business Suntory is engaged in, water and farm goods, we are using the blessings of nature, and by production and manufacturing, we create value which is delivered to our customers. That is our business. Because of our business, natural capital is the most important part of our business, natural capital. And our motto is to create harmony with people and nature. This is our corporate mission and philosophy. Create harmony with people and nature is what has been very important for us. The global environment and the nature and all the biological lives, that they can all live together, coexist together in a sustainable manner, and the humanity and both the environment, both becoming prosperous is our goal. And practicing our corporate mission is nothing but sustainability management per se. For the entire group, materiality is identified. 7 themes have been identified as priority. Within our value chain, what is the impact we are causing on the global environment? And through the analysis, these 7 priority themes have been selected. In addition to water, our top priority is dealing with climate change. Next slide, please. More specifically about our measures against climate change, our environmental vision by 2050 to go for net zero. By 2030, in our location, we will halve our emission and 30% reduction for our entire value chain. This is the goal. So our goal is net zero. But what is most important is the interim goal by 2030. In order to realize the interim goal, we have to do what we can do right now. We are a manufacturer, producer. For the entire group across the world, 5 plants are already carbon neutral. The first in Japan In Nagano, in the city of Omachi, we have the Shinano no Mori plant. This has just started this year, and this is the first net zero factory in Japan. In Europe, we have 4 net zero plants in operation. Thinking about 30 years or 50 years goal, not only longer term goals, but like this year, next year, what can be done in order to clarify the near-term goals regarding renewable energy within fiscal 2022, both in Europe, US, and Japan. In all of our research and production locations across the world, our power will be 100% renewable by 2022. That is our near-term goal. So this is to deal with the emission by our own locations. But looking at the entire value chain, the emission for the entire value chain is much larger than the emission of our locations. Our value chain emission cannot be reduced only by Suntory's effort alone. I will talk later, but we have to work and collaborate with our suppliers. Some of the activities ongoing within the value chain, there are packages which causes a large amount of emission. So we are collaborating with our suppliers in order to make our packaging sustainable. About the PET plastic bottles, from PET bottles to PET bottles, horizontal recycling, and then almost permanently we can continue to produce PET plastic bottles. By this recycle, from raw material, we can eradicate fossil fuel-derived PET bottles. We want to eliminate that by 2030. That is our goal now. I think this will be my first comment. Thank you.
ございました。
So thank you. By 2030, what we can do now. So you're pursuing that. And that was really encouraging. Next, from Tokyo Metropolitan Government, we have a guest, Senior Director, Climate Change and Energy Division, Bureau of Environment, Ogawa Kenji. TMG, in various policies and projects, you have been tackling climate change, as you may all know. Finally, the 2050 carbon neutrality has been declared by the central government. So we hope that you can actually accelerate actions against climate change. So, Ogawa-san, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the introduction. I am Ogawa from the Tokyo Metropolitan Government Bureau of Environment. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for your kind cooperation to the residents of Tokyo region as well as the businesses. Thank you for your kind cooperation. Towards 2050, there is the interim goal by 2030, and action towards 2030 is very important, as all of you are mentioning. In January, Governor Koike announced that by 2030, Tokyo's emission will go down by half compared to 2000. So she announced the carbon half by 2030. Therefore, in March, zero emission Tokyo strategy has been updated. As is shown on the projection, our effort towards carbon half 2030 is shown. By 2030, the GHG will be reduced inside Tokyo, and also we want to contribute to the reduction of emission outside Tokyo metropolitan area. Energy saving, expansion of renewable energies, in addition to that, as shown on the right-hand side graph, to reduce consumption of natural resources and to use more renewable resources. Next slide, please. %70 of the CO2 emitted in Tokyo comes from buildings, including commercial buildings or housings, all constructions. So considering the timeline by 2030 and then between 2030 and 2050, we have set our targets for new build, zero emission building, zero emission housing. Such specs will be standardized by 2030 for new build. For the standing existing buildings, we want to start the transition to zero-emission building, and the preparation should be ready by 2030. Next slide, please. New build going forward. By 2050, half of the standing buildings will be new build, and therefore any new buildings that have to be constructed going forward, what are the specs required? This is what we are thinking hard at this moment. So far, for existing buildings, there is the cap-and-trade system. As for the SME businesses, we have mandated global warming-related reports, but going forward, for the small and medium buildings, to mandate the use of solar energy is under review. As a local government, as the central government also has the zero-emission target, what a local government authority can do together with the businesses and the residents of Tokyo, we wish to listen to your opinions, and we would like to work together with all the parties. Thank you.
Thank you. So you're focusing on buildings in terms of the target. At the same time, regarding the time frame, you think about the time frame, and you also look at the coverage or the scope and trying to deepen all those initiatives. I have high expectations. Now, listening to all of you, you are participating in Race to Zero, so not just looking at 2050 target towards 2030, you already started to take actions. That gave me a strong impression. Having said that, Race to Zero, 2030 target, it's commensurate with 1.5 degree target, and you have to take immediate actions. And also, in Japan, there is this culture of not saying things, but they're actually implementing the actions. And perhaps many of you hesitate to participate in this Race to Zero. You actually have taken actions and making it public. And what are the benefits? What is the significance of Race to Zero? Or some challenges perhaps you might have felt. But if you think that you can somehow do this, please share with us those comments. Oyama-san?
Yes. Housing construction is the area of my business. As Mr. Ogawa from the Metropolitan government said, decarbonization, energy conservation of the houses is important, but our business activities, decarbonization is very important, and energy conservation is something which we are learning about, and we are participating in Race to Zero. As an SME, with regard to what is difficult, we don't have a dedicated person engaged in these activities. 3 years ago, Ministry of Environment, SME 2 degrees centigrade target, RE100 selected business is what we became, SBT. And we have been receiving consultations, and that was the start. And that was the start of our activities. So on a daily basis, we build houses, and the zero energy and the decarbonization is what we're aiming for. The company itself must decarbonize, and these match quite well. And so we have undertaken this within the company. The approaches were very smooth. Initially, the calculation, because there was no dedicated person doing this, we had to receive consultation services. Hayashi-san, please.
Thank you. The significance of external publication, I think there are several points. I have thought about this. If I were to just pick one, by communicating, we are asset manager. So investees, those companies or our clients, asset owners, or on ESG, the specialist evaluation organizations, and our peers, other asset managers, but we often use the word investment chain. So those various people involved signaling or getting engaged with those people are by external communication. I think that's the biggest point or the significance. So without external communication, in-house, if you do it secretively, and then that engagement or building momentum will not actually happen or difficult to materialize. I think that's the biggest difference. So why do I bother to discuss these things? As you know, ESG investment has grown so much 2020 last year, and the ESG ratio, it accounts for 36% of the total universe of asset management. Several months ago, we heard that. And on the other hand, ESG investment is it really contributing to the improvement of sustainability? Does it really have added values? Such discussions are also taking place, I believe. So ESG investment has grown, but maybe nothing has changed. If that should happen now, that would be so disappointing. So far, we've been focusing on ESG investment. We would like to do so. And from that perspective, race to zero, contribution to net zero, ESG investment added values in terms of showing that added values. In a way, it's a test at the same time. So communication really matters, in my opinion. Yes, please keep communicating going forward as well. Fukumoto-san.
Thank you. Starting with our hardship, honestly, it was very difficult for us. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. First, the 2050 environmental vision was made, and we spoke about going for net zero. But it was so hard for me to receive understanding in-house. I think this is common to all Japanese businesses. Whether we can really achieve such an ambitious target, that was the big question. Backcasting and other technologies, it was so difficult for me to convince in-house. But this year, 1.5 degrees goal has been established. On that occasion, it was very different atmosphere. It's very difficult, so ambitious, but let us have a clear roadmap we just have to achieve. That was the atmosphere amongst the executives of my company. It was a major change because there were so much disasters. The outside climate had changed so much surrounding us. But as a B2C company, customers are most important. Customers' mindset has transformed. We listen to customers, and customers have changed in the first place. And the mindset of the customers has changed, and the next generation mindset has changed dramatically. And then companies that do not deal with the climate right at this moment, we will run out of quality human resources in the future. And therefore, as corporate management, it is very important for us to tackle this matter. If I may, one more point. External messaging, I have strongly felt that Japanese companies try to do everything in-house, to do everything on your own. But when it comes to sustainability, single enterprise cannot resolve all the challenges. Partners have to be sought, which means that you have to show your ambition, you have to demonstrate your challenges, the progress. To share your situation with the outside community is very important to find quality partners.
So the past 1 year changes also felt very closely, and in the society, various actors, you're partnering with various actors. I think that's the key word. Ogawa-san, the floor is yours.
Unlike the 3 private businesses, we are a local government authority announcing zero carbon goal or about declaring climate crisis. There are many local governments who are standing up and taking action. So Tokyo Metropolitan government is very encouraged by other local government authorities' actions. As a local government, how to support the business activities is also important. And therefore, as an administration, we need the focus of supporting the businesses in Tokyo. I sincerely hope that businesses will start by declaring your ambitious goals and then think about action. Time to act is also our slogan. Time to act. So declare and start your action. So that is what we are encouraging and we are also doing. Thank you.
Thank you. From various fields, you have shared with us what you have been doing. It's been so diverse. Now, JCI companies and non-governmental actors, in various areas, various fields, you would have to take action. So given that diverse actions, listening to what you're doing can be very inspiring to us. So, if you could share with us some characteristics of your activities, something unique to you, please share those with us. Oyama-san.
Well, decarbonization of business activities. One of the pillars is renewable energies in the power that we use. In case of large companies, RE100 is the global initiative which is there. But we are SMEs, so we cannot join RE100. But in Japan, there's the RE Action, Renewable Energy 100, which we are participating in. That's where we learned. In 2020 already, we have transitioned to 100 of the renewable energy. We use renewable energy, which is linked to the market. Kyushu is such that, as you know, there has been a long-term period where JPEX price was at the bottom. And so even when market linked at the peak period, we need to pay heed. But compared to traditional times, 10%, 20%, that has been the reduction since we have started the Renewable Energy 100. And so depending on the demand-supply situation on the market, we use the power utility. So the reduction of cost and Renewable Energy 100 has been achieved, both.
So for decarbonization, the market moves must be looked at. You have to sort of incorporate them in thinking about them, and you have already implemented them. Right. Hayashi-san, regarding the characteristics, if I could just if you could show others the slide, please. Thank you so much. In this fiscal year, at a place for the first time, scenario analysis for climate change, we conducted this analysis. It was encouraging when we look at the results. So let me share that with you. That's why I'd like you to take a look at the slide. So what have we done, actually? ESG, as part of ESG investment, companies' ESG ratings is one of the things we do. And environment rating is included there. Environmental rating, it's our unique rating, but what is the perspective for environment? The company's actions. Is it expected to actually lead to the enhanced enterprise value of that particular company? So, the group of companies that have high environmental scores, their enterprise value, depending on the scenario of temperature increase, what would be the effect? What would be the impact? So these are the estimates. If you look at this, so sorry that it's a busy slide, just to give you the conclusion, 1.5 degree scenario. So towards net zero, the society is really moving on the right track. In this scenario, high environmental rating companies, their enterprise value has a high likelihood to increase. And that's the result. So we have been doing this ESG rating, and this is a new net zero race to zero initiative. In a way, it has high affinity. These are coherent. So that's one of the things we could learn from the results. So race to zero, participating race to zero, and how best to increase enterprise value. How do we combine those? That perspective matters in order to make these activities that are feasible. And that's why I wanted to raise this issue. For other companies, this is something that they can really refer to as a reference point. Please, I would like to encourage you to continue analyzing these. Fukumoto-san, the floor is yours.
As was mentioned, we are a B2C company that we directly face our customers. the customer's mindset has changed. We have to notice that and respond and adapt to the changing consumers. Whether the product is the same or not, what is the attitude of the producer towards the climate and the environment? We feel the reception by the customers. In that regard, transparency is extremely important. There was discussion about scenario analysis, and according to the TCFD, disclosure expansion is of course implemented. In addition to that, what challenges the company is facing and how we are dealing with the challenges, that is even shared by the stakeholders. That would allow us to obtain trust from our customers. The product itself, our products themselves, to reduce carbon, social values are sought by our customers. They look for low carbon products. After all, we make drinks, and therefore it has to be safe and it must taste good and healthy. These are the basic values of our drinking products. But in addition to that, now the customers are demanding social value in the drinks we produce. Therefore, we want to respond to that expectation of our customers. I think it was last year, we have Iemon brand green tea. This is a PET bottle without labels. More than we had expected. The customers highly appreciated. Suntory is so careful about the environment. Our label-less, label-free PET bottle was highly appreciated. Another point. So customers' awareness is changing, which means that this is a positive opportunity for Suntory. Social values will be added on to our products, and Suntory will have another big opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. So with customers, you kind of have interactions with customers. That's great. Ogawa-san.
Again, from the public sector, as a local government, Tokyo is one of the local government authorities, so businesses will have to be attracted. We have to be chosen by the businesses for their location. As a system or a mechanism, what can we establish and reduce global warming at the same time? And after all, Tokyo Metropolitan government is a huge entity itself. Of course, we use a huge amount of power and gas. So we want to decarbonize the energy that we consume. We have to look after the businesses as well as take care of our own energy consumption. Earlier, I discussed in my third slide, and please do return to that slide. We are thinking about new upcoming systems so that we can also encourage businesses to decarbonize. As for reduction by ourselves, our Shinjuku government headquarters, about the power, Renewable 100% has been started from 2 years ago. From this year, there are metropolitan schools, including schools for disabled children, and we are also trying to transit to renewable power 100%. At the same time, we want to encourage the residents to use renewable energy, and therefore grouped power purchase is promoted. So although not expensive, renewable power is to be expanded even amongst the Tokyo residents. As a local government authority and also as an entity ourselves, we are trying to work on them.
I mean, time flies, doesn't it? I mean, we are near the end of the session. So regarding future development or next, or potential participants in the race to zero, what is your message from each of you? Oyama-san.
I have prepared one last PowerPoint. As a SME, we're not investees, but let me tell you that we do feel the merits. One point, as Suntory talked about the social value of products within housing, decarbonization, energy conservation is such that ZEH or LCCM housing, life cycle carbon minus housing, these are penetrating. Not the economic value of the products, but we want people to order these houses resonating with our philosophy, and we are seeing that this is happening. And tying up with the stakeholders, regional stakeholders is starting. We have requests for us to speak at local government events or participate in education of junior high schools. And this has already started. This is what I wanted to communicate about. And thirdly, this is for going forward. It will be designating from the other side, but we are a construction company, but there are in upstream equipment manufacturers, global companies such as Rixil and Toto. So we want to collaborate along with them. We will be designating them for partnership.
Thank you, Hayashi-san. Just one word at the end. Net zero, race to zero. These initiatives, in the final analysis, not sitting on the fence, not just seeing what happens, but those people who make early moves, such organizations, such people are more likely to obtain business opportunities or more likely to reduce risks. So the probability for success is likely to increase for early entrants. And those people, more people and more organizations would like to start it early. Then as a whole, I think it will actually contribute to changing the society as well. So those people, those organizations who are thinking of possible participation, please take into consideration that perspective as well. Thank you so much for having me. Fukumoto-san.
Thank you. As was just discussed, going forward, we want to become a decarbonized society. Within such an envisioned society, there must be sound corporate management, and quick transition is required. For our company, a major challenge for us is to look after the entire value chain, how to realize net zero over the entire value chain. Some of the suppliers who do not have the ambition, or suppliers who are simply not able without resources, some suppliers are not able to target net zero. Rather than severing our ties, we want to work together, support them, and create a net zero resilient supply chain. I wish that many more will participate and work together with us as partners in the race to zero. Thank you.
Ogawa-san?
Mr. Ogawa? Yes, I will be brief. Tomorrow. We do have another event tomorrow, Time to Act. There is an international conference, and JCI representative Sueyoshi-san will kindly join us. Sustainable building and finance and other topics, including hydrogen. There is going to be an event which is webcast tomorrow evening. I invite you to join us online, and we want to act together with all of you. Once again, thank you.
Already, you have started taking actions. Highly conscious people, organizations, and local governments, companies are here towards carbon zero. Various difficulties or obstacles that must be overcome will be experienced by you. To overcome those, co-working is necessary, I believe. To all of you, please do participate in Race to Zero so that we can walk together. I'll be waiting for you to participate in the Race to Zero. So thank you once again for joining us. Thank you. So, as a closing, JCI Race to Zero members, or the circle members, messages will be shared with you in a video. And then we would like to move on to the next session, New Challenges of Addressing the Climate Crisis. The moderator is Takashi, Associate Director, CDB Worldwide Japan. So thank you so much. Thank you.
JCI Race to Zero, messages from the members of the circle. What is the significance of participating in international initiatives such as Race to Zero? Ecoworks, our company name, Ecoworks, embodies the philosophy of our environmental activities. I think most of the companies that participate in this project are large and global companies, but we decided to participate in this project to raise awareness that even small and medium-sized companies.
A truly sustainable
cooperation.
Society cannot be done by one company or one government alone. It takes a collective effort, including working with our consumers. We believe that Race to Zero is an initiative that can really accelerate our efforts towards this movement globally.
Chiba University of Commerce. It is said that Japanese universities are not active in decarbonization, but we will show that this is not so. By collaborating with universities around the world, we can exchange information and show each other how we can decarbonize. How will you achieve zero? Asahi Group Holdings. As part of our efforts to achieve net zero by 2050, we will introduce renewable energy power to 90% of our production sites by 2025. At the same time, we will strengthen our efforts to reduce CO2 emissions throughout the value chain and aim to achieve Asahi Carbon Zero by 2050. NTT Data Cooperation. We, NTT Data, are working on green innovation using digital technology, not only for the transformation of NTT Data, but also to connect with our global customers and realize a sustainable society through green innovation together with them. We want to achieve zero. Time to act. This is the time to accelerate action. The Tokyo Metropolitan Government will work with cities, businesses, and NGOs to contribute to the decarbonization of the world. This is Yuriko Koike, Governor of Tokyo. Join us in the race to a zero world.